Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel English Achieve. I am so happy to see you here today. Every video on this channel is made with one purpose: to inspire you, to motivate you, and to help you improve your English while you improve your life. Now, today's video is not just another motivational lesson. It's something more powerful. Today, I am going to share a motivational story with you. Why? Because stories are special. Stories stay in your mind. They speak to your heart. You may forget advice, but you never forget a story. And the story you will hear today can truly change the way you think, and maybe even the way you live. This story is called Empty Your Mind. It is not a fantasy story. It is not just entertainment. It is a story about real life. A story about the weight we carry in our thoughts, and how that weight can stop us from becoming who we want to be. It is about how to let go of that weight and live with freedom, peace, and strength. But before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your mind is too crowded? Too many thoughts, too many fears, too many regrets. It feels like you are carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. You want to run, but something pulls you back. You want to be free, but something holds you down. If you know that feeling, then this story is for you. So stay with me until the end of this video, because this is not just a story for listening, it's a story for living. By the end of this video, you may look at your own life in a completely different way. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Heavy Backpack. There was once a young man named Daniel. Daniel was like many of us. He had dreams, he had goals, and he wanted to live an extraordinary life. He wanted to start his own business, travel the world, and one day build something that people would remember. Every morning he woke up with excitement in his heart. He imagined a future full of possibilities, a life filled with success, happiness, and freedom. He wanted to be someone who mattered, not just to himself, but to others as well. But Daniel had a problem. His problem was not outside of him. It was not the lack of opportunity, money, or skills. No, the real problem was inside his mind. His mind was crowded, noisy, and restless. It was full of thoughts that stopped him from moving forward. Daniel's mind was like a backpack, but not an ordinary backpack. This backpack was heavy, very heavy, and it was filled with stones. Each stone represented a negative thought or belief that weighed him down. One stone was labeled, "I failed before." It reminded him of every mistake he had ever made. Every time he thought about trying something new, this stone whispered in his mind, "Why try again? You already failed. You are not strong enough." Another stone said, "People will laugh at me." It made him anxious to speak in public, to share his ideas, or to meet new people. This stone was always there, making him feel small, shy, and unworthy. Another stone carried the weight of, "I am not good enough." This stone told him he did not deserve success, happiness, or love. It made him compare himself to everyone else and feel less than them. Every time Daniel wanted to take action, the backpack became heavier. When he tried to start something new, the stones pushed him back. When he wanted to share his ideas, the stones shouted, "Stop! They will not understand. You will embarrass yourself." When he thought about dreaming big, the stones laughed at him silently, reminding him of all the times he had not succeeded. Can you imagine walking around with a backpack full of heavy stones every day? At first, you might carry it without noticing. You might think, "It's okay, I can handle this." But after a few hours, your shoulders ache. After a few days, your muscles hurt. After weeks, you feel tired and worn out. After months, your body and mind begin to break down. That was Daniel's life. He was carrying stones from the past, worries about the future, and fears that had no real place in the present. Daniel was young, but he often felt old. His energy was spent carrying thoughts that weighed him down. His excitement for life faded because he had to constantly fight the heaviness of his own mind. He was alive, but he wasn't free. He wanted to run, but he could barely move. He wanted to explore, but the stones held him back. He wanted to create, but fear and doubt stopped his hands from working. Sometimes Daniel would sit alone at night looking at the stars and thinking, "Why do I feel trapped in my own life? Why can't I be happy? Why does my mind make everything so difficult?" He did not yet realize that the solution was not outside of him. It was inside. The backpack would not disappear on its own. The stones would not vanish unless he learned a secret that could free him from the heaviness of his mind. And so, Daniel continued his days, dreaming of freedom, hoping for success, but carrying a burden that no one else could see. This heavy backpack, filled with invisible stones, was the first lesson of his life. A lesson that would teach him the power of letting go, the power of an empty mind, and the power of real freedom. Chapter 2. The Teacher and the Cup. One day, Daniel heard about a wise teacher who lived high in the mountains. People said that this teacher knew the answers to life's deepest questions. They said he could guide anyone who was lost, anyone who was carrying heavy burdens in their mind. Daniel listened carefully to these stories. A spark of hope grew inside him. Maybe, just maybe, this teacher could help him. Maybe he could finally learn how to let go of the stones he carried and find freedom in his mind. After thinking about it for days, Daniel decided to visit the teacher. He felt nervous but excited because he knew that this journey could change his life. Daniel packed a small bag and started walking toward the mountains. The journey was long and the path was not easy. There were steep hills and rocky trails. Sometimes he felt tired, and sometimes he wanted to turn back. But he remembered why he was walking. He remembered the heavy backpack he carried in his mind and the stones that weighed him down. That thought gave him courage. Step by step, he moved forward, keeping his eyes on the path ahead. After several days of walking, Daniel finally reached the teacher's home. It was a small house, simple and quiet, surrounded by tall trees and fresh mountain air. The walls were plain, but there was a feeling of peace all around. When Daniel arrived, the teacher came to the door and smiled warmly. His eyes were calm and kind, full of understanding. Daniel felt an unusual sense of comfort. Here, in this quiet place, he felt that maybe he could finally find the answers he had been searching for. Daniel bowed respectfully and spoke with a serious voice. "Teacher," he said, "I want to learn. I want to succeed. But my mind is always full of fear, doubt, and worries. I feel trapped. I cannot move forward. Please guide me. Please show me the way." The teacher nodded slowly. He said nothing at first, but he invited Daniel to sit with him. Then, in a calm and deliberate manner, the teacher brought out a teapot and 2 small cups. He poured tea into Daniel's cup. At first, Daniel thought it was just a simple gesture of hospitality. But the teacher did not stop when the cup was full. He kept pouring. The tea began to spill over the edges, running down the sides of the cup. Daniel watched in shock as the tea overflowed onto the table. "Stop, stop," Daniel shouted, jumping up. "The cup is already full. It cannot hold more." He felt confused. He looked at the teacher and asked, "Why are you doing this?" The teacher smiled gently and looked straight into Daniel's eyes. "Your mind is like this cup," he said slowly. "It is already too full. You want me to give you wisdom, but there is no space inside you. You cannot learn, you cannot grow, because your mind is filled with thoughts, regrets, and fears. First, you must empty your mind. Only then will there be room for new ideas, new strength, and new understanding. Daniel sat down quietly, his heart beating fast. He realized the truth in the teacher's words. He had been trying to learn, trying to grow, trying to succeed, but he was carrying too much in his mind. Every worry, every fear, every regret was like another stone in his backpack. His mind had no space for anything new. For the first time, he understood why he felt so tired, so stuck, and so limited in life. That moment was the beginning of a new journey for Daniel. He realized that wisdom alone would not help him. Success alone would not help him. The first step was to empty his mind, to remove the weight of the stones he carried, so he could finally create space for courage, strength, and freedom. Chapter 3. Learning to Let Go. Teacher, Daniel said softly, how can I empty my mind? I want to be free. I want to live without fear. But my thoughts are always loud, and my mind feels too heavy. How do I begin? The teacher looked at him with calm and kind eyes. He spoke slowly, so every word would sink deep into Daniel's mind. Emptying your mind does not mean forgetting everything. It does not mean pretending that your past did not happen. It does not mean ignoring your feelings or refusing to learn from your mistakes. Emptying your mind means letting go of the things that no longer help you. Let go of the anger that keeps burning inside you. Let go of the fears that chain your spirit. Let go of yesterday's mistakes that weigh on your heart. Free your mind of what is not useful, and only then can you grow, learn, and live fully. Daniel nodded, but inside he felt unsure. But teacher, he said, how do I let go? How can I remove the heavy stones from my mind when they feel like they belong there? They are part of me. The teacher smiled gently. Yes, they are part of you, but they do not define you. You are not the stones. You are the one who carries them, and you can choose to set them down. The first step is awareness. Notice each thought. Observe each fear. See each regret for what it is, a stone you do not need to carry anymore. Then, consciously, decide to put it down. That night, Daniel lay on his bed in the quiet house of the teacher. The moonlight streamed through the small window, and the mountains were silent and calm outside. But Daniel's mind was noisy. His backpack of stones felt heavier than ever. He thought of all the times he had failed, all the words people had said that hurt him, all the fears that had stopped him from moving forward. Each memory felt like a stone pressing down on his chest. He realized something important. Every time he thought of a past failure, he was placing yet another stone into his backpack. Every time he worried about the future, he was adding yet another stone. Every time he said to himself, I am not enough, he was making the burden heavier. Daniel made a decision. He could not continue living this way. He wanted freedom. He wanted strength. He wanted peace. So he began to practice. Every morning he would sit quietly, close his eyes, and imagine opening the backpack of his mind. He visualized each stone inside it. One by one he picked them up, looked at them, and asked himself, does this serve me, or does it hold me back? He took out a stone of regret. He looked at it and whispered, I do not need you anymore. And threw it away. He got a stone held carefully in his mind and let it float away like a leaf on a river. He took out a stone of doubt, the one that whispered, I cannot do it, and placed it gently on the ground, leaving it behind. It was not easy. Some stones were heavy and some kept coming back. Sometimes Daniel felt discouraged. Sometimes the backpack felt full again. But he did not give up. He practiced every day, again and again. Slowly, very slowly, he began to feel lighter. His mind felt calmer. His heart felt freer. He noticed that he could breathe more deeply, that he could think more clearly, and that he could imagine a future without fear. For the first time, Daniel realized that letting go was a choice, a daily choice. It was not a one-time event. It was not something that could be done quickly. It was a practice, a skill, and a way of living. And the more he practiced, the lighter he felt. The stones lost their power over him. The backpack was no longer a burden. It was empty, ready to be filled with courage, wisdom, and possibility. Daniel understood that freedom did not come from changing the outside world. Freedom came from cleaning the inside, from releasing what no longer served him, and from learning to let go. That night, he fell asleep with a peaceful heart, knowing that the journey of emptying his mind had begun, and that his life would never be the same again. Chapter 4. The First Test. After several weeks of practicing with the teacher's guidance, Daniel began to feel a new kind of courage rising inside him. He had been learning to empty his mind, to let go of the stones of fear, doubt, and regret. And slowly, he felt lighter, freer, and more focused. For the first time in a long time, he believed that he could take action. He decided it was time to face the first real test of his new mindset. Daniel had always dreamed of starting a small business. He wanted to create handmade furniture that was beautiful, practical, and full of care. But for years, fear had stopped him. Fear whispered constantly in his mind. You will fail. People will laugh. You're not skilled enough. What if no one buys your work? In the past, these thoughts had been like stones in his backpack. They weighed him down and kept him from taking the first step. But this time, Daniel felt different. When fear whispered, "You will fail," he smiled. He looked at the thought as if it were just another stone in his backpack. He told himself, "This is only a stone. I do not need to carry it. I can put it down." And with that simple action, he felt the weight lift. He understood that fear itself could not stop him. Only the decision to hold on to fear could. Daniel started small. He worked in his little workshop, crafting one chair at a time. He poured care into every piece, making sure each one was made with love and attention. Once the first chair was finished, he took it to his neighbors and showed it proudly. Some smiled warmly and admired his work. Others, however, laughed or made comments that could have hurt him deeply in the past. But Daniel had learned the lesson of letting go. He listened to their words, but he did not place them in his backpack. He let them pass by like leaves floating on a river. Their praise and their criticism no longer controlled his mind. Day by day, Daniel continued to make more furniture. Each time he finished a new piece, he felt a quiet joy and a growing confidence. He noticed something important. The obstacles were not outside of him. The problem had never been the neighbors, the buyers, or the world around him. The real problem had always been inside his own mind, inside the backpack he carried for so many years. Once he had learned to empty his mind, to put down the stones of fear and doubt, he could move forward without hesitation. Daniel also learned patience. He knew that success would not come overnight. There would be mistakes, delays, and challenges. But for the first time, he did not fear these problems. He saw them as small stones that could be lifted and set aside. He realized that every challenge was a chance to practice emptying his mind even more, to strengthen his focus, and to become resilient. By the end of the first month, Daniel's small business began to grow. People started noticing his work. Some even came back to buy more furniture. Daniel understood something more powerful than business success. He understood that freedom, courage, and strength come from mastering your mind. The outside world can never control you if you have learned to control your thoughts. For Daniel, the first test was not about selling chairs or making money. It was about testing the practice of letting go, about proving to himself that he could live without the heavy burden of fear and doubt. And he passed that test beautifully. He realized that real power does not come from avoiding fear, but from learning to face it and release it. That first test was only the beginning, but it showed Daniel the truth he had been waiting to discover. The mind can be your greatest tool, or your heaviest burden. The choice is always yours. Chapter 5. New Freedom. Months passed, and Daniel's small business began to grow. Step by step, piece by piece, he worked with care and dedication. Every chair, every table, every piece of furniture he created carried not only his skill, but also the lessons he had learned from the teacher. People began to notice his work. Some admired it quietly, while others spoke words of encouragement. Yet Daniel noticed something important. More important than the growth of his business was the growth inside him, the change in his mind. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt a sense of true freedom. His mind was no longer crowded with the heavy stones of fear, regret, and doubt. He could sit quietly and simply breathe, without a storm of thoughts attacking him. He could work on his craft without worrying about what others thought of him. He could dream boldly, without hearing the voice of fear shouting, "It is impossible. You cannot do it." The freedom in his mind gave him a strength he had never known before. He felt lighter, calmer, and more confident in every action he took. Daniel realized that this new freedom was not just about being fearless. It was about choosing which thoughts to carry and which to release. In the past, he had been a prisoner of his own mind, weighed down by every fear, every regret, and every doubt. But now, he understood that the mind could be trained. The mind could be emptied and refilled with courage, clarity, and focus. This was a power that no one could take away from him. One evening, after a long day of work, Daniel decided to visit the teacher again. He walked quietly through the mountains, feeling the soft breeze on his face, noticing the beauty of the trees and the calm of the night. When he arrived, the teacher welcomed him with a gentle smile. Daniel bowed and said sincerely, "Thank you, teacher. I have learned to empty my mind. I feel lighter. I feel free. I feel stronger than I ever have before." The teacher nodded, his eyes kind and wise. "Good, Daniel," he said. "You have learned well. But remember this. Life will always try to fill your cup again. Fear, anger, worry, and doubt will always come. They will knock at your door, and sometimes they will push hard. Every day you must choose to empty your mind again. It is not a one-time lesson. It is a practice. It is a way of life. Freedom is maintained through consistent effort and awareness." Daniel bowed his head, understanding deeply what the teacher was saying. Emptying the mind was not something you did once and then forgot. It was a daily choice. It was a skill, a habit, and a way to protect his inner peace. Every day brought new challenges, new fears, and new opportunities for worry. But Daniel knew he could face them without being weighed down. He knew that he could empty his mind and make space for clarity, focus, and courage. From that day onward, Daniel continued his life with a quiet strength. He practiced letting go every morning, every afternoon, and every night. He noticed the small victories, the calm in his heart, the clarity in his thoughts, the joy of simple actions without the burden of fear. He realized that life would always bring challenges, but now he had the key to remain free. Daniel's journey had taught him the most important lesson of all. Freedom begins in the mind. When you release what no longer serves you, when you empty your mental backpack of stones, you can finally move forward with clarity, confidence, and peace. For Daniel, this was more valuable than any success in business, more valuable than praise or recognition. This was the treasure of life, real freedom, found within. Chapter 6. Lessons for you. My friend, this story is not only about Daniel, it is about you. Daniel's journey may seem distant or like a story from another world, but the truth is, it mirrors something inside all of us. Each of us carries an invisible backpack full of heavy stones. These stones are our fears, our regrets, our doubts, and our worries. They weigh us down, often without us even noticing. We move through life carrying them, thinking they are a natural part of living, not realizing that they are the chains that prevent us from reaching our true potential. Think about your own life for a moment. How many stones are you carrying? How many times have you replayed the same mistake over and over in your mind? How often have you worried about what other people think of you? How many nights have you lain awake, burdened by regrets from the past or fears about the future? And how many years have you spent carrying anger or resentment? Anger that does not hurt anyone else, but hurts only you. These are the stones that fill your backpack. They are heavy and they are unnecessary. They stop you from moving forward. They stop you from living freely. The truth is this: your mind is powerful, but it is limited. Your mind can only hold so much. If you fill it with fear, there is no space for courage. If you fill it with regret, there is no room for growth. If you fill it with anger, there is no place for peace. And yet, we do this to ourselves every day. We replay our failures, we worry about what others will say, and we hold on to grudges as if keeping them will protect us. But in reality, carrying these stones makes us prisoners of our own thoughts. Daniel's story shows us that freedom is possible, but it starts with a choice. You must learn the art of emptying your mind. Emptying your mind does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that life is perfect. It means choosing what you allow to occupy your thoughts. It means letting go of the stones that weigh you down so that you can focus on what truly matters. It means freeing yourself from the mental baggage that has been holding you back. This practice is not easy at first. You may find yourself holding onto old fears and regrets because they feel familiar. You may feel uncomfortable letting go because your mind has grown used to carrying the stones. But every time you choose to release one of these stones, one worry, one fear, one memory of failure, you create space in your mind. You create space for courage, for clarity, for creativity, and for peace. You give yourself the gift of freedom. Remember, my friend, this is a practice, not a one-time event. You will need to empty your mind again and again. Life will always try to fill your cup with fear, doubt, and worry. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Step by step, stone by stone, you can release what no longer serves you. You can lighten your backpack and walk through life with strength and confidence. The lesson is clear. The outside world cannot control your mind. Only you can control what you choose to carry. By emptying your mind, you discover a new kind of power. A power that comes from clarity, courage, and inner peace. This is the gift Daniel found, and it is a gift you can claim for yourself. Your mind is yours to shape. Empty it and fill it with what empowers you. Let go of the unnecessary and live free. Chapter 7. 3 steps to emptying your mind. Now, my friend, let me share with you 3 simple but powerful steps that Daniel used to empty his mind and regain his freedom. These steps are easy to remember, and they can be practiced every day. They are not magic, but they are tools that can help you take control of your mind, release what weighs you down, and fill your life with strength, clarity, and peace. The first step is pause and breathe. When your mind feels heavy, when your backpack feels full of stones, it is time to stop. Stop for a moment. Close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath. Feel the air enter your body, filling your lungs and calming your heart. Say to yourself, I am here. I am alive. I am safe. Breathing is a simple action, but it creates space in your mind. It allows you to step away from the storm of thoughts, fears, and worries. When Daniel first learned this step, he would sit quietly for several minutes each day, simply noticing his breath. At first, his mind wandered, but with practice, he discovered that even a few moments of calm breathing could create a gap between him and the heavy stones of his thoughts. The pause gives you clarity. It reminds you that you are more than your fears, more than your regrets, and more than your doubts. The second step is let go of the stone. Once you have paused and created space in your mind, you can look at the thoughts you are carrying. Imagine each thought as a stone in your backpack. Ask yourself, does this stone help me or does it hurt me? If it hurts you, if it fills you with fear, anger, or regret, then choose to let it go. You do not need to carry it anymore. Daniel used this step carefully and intentionally every day. He would picture each stone, name it, and then imagine placing it down and walking away. And sometimes the stones tried to return. Sometimes old worries and fears would creep back into his mind. But he kept practicing. He reminded himself that he was not the stone. He was the one who could choose to carry it or release it. This step is the heart of emptying the mind. It is the action that releases the burden and creates freedom. The third step is fill your cup with fresh water. After you have emptied your mind of the stones, do not leave it empty. An empty mind is like an empty cup. It needs to be filled with something positive, nourishing, and empowering. You can read something uplifting, listen to encouraging words, or repeat a thought that strengthens you. Daniel often said to himself, I am strong. I can grow. I will not stop. He filled his mind with hope, confidence, and clarity. This step is important because your mind is like fertile soil. If you remove weeds, you must plant seeds that will grow into something beautiful. The more you fill your mind with good thoughts, the stronger, calmer, and more focused you will become. These 3 steps, pause and breathe, let go of the stone, and fill your cup with fresh water, are simple, but they are also incredibly powerful. They do not require complicated techniques or special tools. All you need is awareness, intention, and consistency. Daniel practiced these steps every day, and slowly, day by day, his life began to change. The heavy stones in his backpack disappeared, replaced by courage, peace, and clarity. My friend, you can do the same. Each day, pause and breathe. Release what no longer serves you. Fill your mind with thoughts that uplift, strengthen, and inspire you. These 3 steps are your path to freedom, your guide to mastering your mind, and your key to a life filled with possibility. The journey may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. Chapter 8. The Ongoing Journey. Daniel's story did not end with the first successes of his business or the first lessons from his teacher. Life continued, as life always does, bringing new challenges, new obstacles, and new lessons. There were days when the workshop felt quiet and customers were slow to come. There were moments when friends or neighbors would criticize his work or dismiss his efforts. There were even times when old fears crept back into his mind, whispering that he could not succeed. that he was not capable, or that he might fail again. These moments were tests, and Daniel knew they were part of the journey. But Daniel had learned a powerful secret. He understood that life is not about avoiding problems or running away from fear. Life is about emptying your mind of the stones that weigh you down, so you can move forward lightly, no matter what comes your way. He knew that challenges would always appear, but he also knew that he did not need to carry them inside him. Fear might knock at the door, but he could choose whether to let it in. Failure might happen, but he could choose whether to store it in his backpack. This understanding gave him a kind of inner freedom that no one could take away. Daniel realized that letting go was not a one-time event. It was a practice, a daily decision. Each morning he would pause and breathe, reminding himself that he was alive and that he was safe. He would notice the stones in his mind, fears, doubts, regrets, and ask himself whether they served him or held him back. Then he would set down what was unnecessary, releasing the weight he had carried for years. And once his mind was empty, he would fill it with something positive, a thought of courage, a vision of his goals, or a reminder of his inner strength. With this practice, Daniel faced life differently than before. When a customer criticized his work, he listened politely but did not take the words home in his mind. When he made a mistake in his craft, he corrected it and moved forward without self-blame. When fear whispered, "You will fail," he recognized it as just another stone and let it go. By refusing to carry unnecessary weight, Daniel discovered a new rhythm to life. He moved with more ease, worked with more focus, and enjoyed his successes without clinging to them. Daniel also learned that peace, courage, and freedom are connected. The lighter your mind, the more peaceful your heart feels. When you let go of fear, you naturally gain courage, because courage is simply the absence of the heavy burden that fear creates. And when your mind is free of unnecessary stones, you feel a sense of freedom that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Daniel discovered that life does not need to be perfect, and challenges do not need to be feared. Freedom comes from how you choose to carry, or not carry, the stones in your mind. Over time, Daniel's business flourished, but more importantly, his inner life flourished. He woke up each day with clarity, worked with focus, and rested with peace. He understood that success was not measured only by money, recognition, or external achievements, but by the calm, the courage, and the freedom he felt inside. He had learned that life would always present challenges, but he no longer needed to be a prisoner of them. He had the power to walk through life lightly, carrying only what served him and letting go of everything else. And so, Daniel continued his journey. He did not stop fear from coming, nor did he stop failure from appearing. He simply did not carry them anymore. He embraced the ongoing practice of emptying his mind. And because of this, he lived differently. He lived with peace. He lived with courage. He lived with freedom. And he knew that as long as he continued this practice, no stone, no fear, and no regret could ever weigh him down again. Final words for you. My dear friend, remember this. Life can be heavy, and your mind can feel like a backpack filled with stones. Every fear, every regret, every ounce of anger adds weight that slows you down, that stops you from living fully. But there is a choice. You can put down the glass of water. You can take off the heavy backpack. You can empty the cup. You do not need to carry everything. You do not need to hold on to what only drags you down. The first step toward freedom is realizing that the burden is yours to release. Do not let your mind become your prison. Your mind is not a cage. It is a tool. It can build. It can create. It can guide you, but only if it is clear. Every day, make the choice to empty it of what does not serve you. Let go of fear that tells you, you cannot. Release regrets that whisper, you should have done better. Set aside anger that only poisons your peace. Each stone you release is a step toward strength, clarity, and freedom. Here on my channel, English Achieve, I want you to understand something important. Emptying your mind is not a one-time task. It is a daily practice. Life will continue to challenge you. Fear will appear. Doubts will return. But each day, you have the power to put down the stones again. Each day, you have the power to create space for something better. Courage, hope, wisdom. These are the things that can fill the empty space in your mind and guide you to the life you desire. If you practice this consistently, you will discover a new kind of power. You will move through life lighter, freer, and more focused. You will not just move forward, you will fly. Your thoughts will no longer hold you back. Your mind will become your greatest ally instead of your heaviest burden. This is the power of an empty mind. When your mind is free, your heart is free, and your life can reach heights you never imagined. So, my friend, take this lesson with you. Empty your mind, release the unnecessary, and fill it with what empowers you. Step by step, stone by stone, you will find peace, courage, and freedom. And in that freedom, you will discover the true power that has been inside you all along.